Welcome back to my Vision News. Two updates for you and two news stories. Firstly, two updates. First one is about Ethiopian athletes from Tigray region who could not see their families because there was war, there were restrictions on travel to Tigray. They competed at World Athletics Championships last year, won medals, but they could not meet their families. They arrived in Tigray today. They were welcomed at Mekelle Airport by Deputy President of Tigray, Fetlever Gebrexizaber, the lady, and other Tigray authorities were there at Mekelle Airport. Derarto Tulo, Ethiopian Athletics Federation president, was leading this delegation of Tigray athletes. Derarto is an incredible lady. I always appreciate her because in difficult times when it was difficult to support Tigrayans, she managed to ensure her neutrality. She was leading this organization. She backed Tigray athletes. She nurtured them. She groomed them. And you saw then at World Athletics Championships last year that Letisamble Gede, Gudaf Sege and others, Gutetom Gebrselassie won medals for Ethiopia. And all these athletes who arrived in Tigray today were wearing Ethiopian Athletics Federation uniform. No Tigray flag. No one was carrying Tigray flag. So they represent Ethiopia. They introduce themselves as Ethiopians. That is what Derarto does. That she meets Tigray activists, she meets Amhara activists, she meets each and every one from Ethiopia. And she is one of those symbols, I would say, in Ethiopia, which represent Ethiopia, which don't represent any particular ethnic group or region. The athletes are going to see their families in Tigray. Secondly, in the previous video, I reported the arrival of Chinese foreign minister in Ethiopia. He was welcomed by Demeke Mekonnen, deputy prime minister, at Addis Ababa airport. And then the minister went to meet PM Abiy. PM Abiy has been seen with the Chinese foreign minister. You can see some pictures on your screen. PM Abiy and newly appointed Chinese foreign minister can be seen. Ethiopia matters a lot for China, seat of African Union with Chinese investments as well. It seems that Horn of Africa is being fought over by US, China and Russia. Three main players. Some presence of Middle Eastern countries too. But these are three main players fighting for influence in the Horn of Africa. Now, two main news stories for you guys. First one is about Jawar. Jawar, Oromo Federalist Congress vice chairman, is not in Ethiopia, is in a neighboring country. There he has held some meetings with Ethiopian government officials. We have details for you. And secondly, around 4 days ago, I reported about demolition of houses in Addis Ababa, on Addis Ababa-Oromia border. Oromia region's security forces were involved in the operation. And people tried to protest. Security forces from Oromia opened fire. Some locals were injured. And human rights defenders, officials of a human rights organization were arrested around 4 days ago. They're still in prison. Details for you. Firstly, viewers, Jawar, deputy chairman of Oromo Federalist Congress, a key figure in the protest movement which removed EPRDF from Addis Ababa around more than 4 years ago. Jawar is accused of having secret ties with Prosperity Party, with PM Abiy. And people say that he keeps on meeting them, but he never makes it public. And some say that he was briefed before the start of third round of fighting in northern Ethiopia. He and some other politicians, they were briefed by Ethiopian federal agencies and departments. So he's close to Prosperity Party, to the government, but he never makes it public. And it was almost a year ago, in January 2022, when he was released from prison. Before his imprisonment, he was very vocal, critical against the government. After his release, he has gone silent. Mostly he stays abroad. He visited almost entire Europe, main countries of Europe a few months ago. Then he went to US, Canada. He said that he was there on a peace mission. I don't know what peace did he bring about by visiting Europe and Canada, US. He returned to Ethiopia. His security guards were arrested by federal government during Easter celebrations. Later, security guards were granted bail. The judge who granted them bail was arrested by government. We know that, and I reported that in some videos. And then he went for hiking, for climbing mountains in Tanzania, and last time he was seen in a neighboring country, that is Kenya. And from Tanzania, he released some messages condemning civilian killings in Oromia and that Oromos are being slaughtered by government forces. But just statements. His party also issued a statement a few weeks ago. Jawar has held some meetings in Kenya. That is what we learned from Kenya. He met with Ethiopian government officials once again. And meeting was held between Jawar and Ethiopian ambassador to Kenya. Who is he? General Bacha Dable. General Bacha Dable is former general of Ethiopian National Defense Force. Last year, he was one of top generals of ENDF when fighting was ongoing in Amhara regions. But then he and another ENDF general were appointed as ambassadors. He was appointed to Kenya. The other general was appointed to Egypt, I think. And we have seen Bacha with Banajula recently when talks were held in Nairobi, Kenya between TPLF and Ethiopian federal authorities. So Bacha is one of key figures in touch with top men in Ethiopia. Bacha and Jawar have held some meetings in Nairobi, Kenya. Kenya, not Nairobi. That is what we are learning. Now, there is nothing wrong with such meetings. Obviously, Jawar is from Ethiopia. Bacha Dable is from Ethiopia as well. Jawar has every right to meet PP officials, government officials of Ethiopia. Problem is that he hides all these activities. That is why people raise questions. That behind the scenes, he is having meetings and in public, he criticizes them. That is why people in Oromia, diaspora, they criticize him. But a meeting between Bacha and Jawar is being confirmed by some sources who we trust. They're from Kenya. Secondly, viewers, around 3 to 4 days, we read some videos about demolition of houses by Oromia region security forces on Addis Ababa, Oromia border. An operation was launched. Regional forces and relevant departments demolished houses. People protested. Oromia security forces opened fire. Some were injured, locals. And Ethiopian Human Rights Council, an Ethiopian human rights organization, sent a team of human rights defenders, human rights officials, to investigate the issue. Three people were sent with the driver of a vehicle as well, who was driving the vehicle. They were arrested. They tried to meet the people, the affectees, but they were arrested. Who arrested them? It seems that Oromia Region Security Forces arrested them. It seems, because they are at Alam Gena 2 police station, which is in Oromia Special Zone around Addis Ababa. So they were arrested reportedly by Oromia Region Security Forces 4 days ago. What is their crime? Nothing. They were there just to interview people, to prepare a report about demolition of houses. But security forces arrested them around 4 days ago. So these 4 people are still in prison in Ethiopia, in Oromia, you can say. And international human rights organizations are calling for their release. Question is, what crime was committed by them? If they violated any law, it should be made clear. Otherwise, human rights organizations are already under pressure in Ethiopia. They're not allowed to work freely. If their activists, if their officials are arrested, how will they work in Ethiopia? Human rights organizations, Human Rights Commission and Human Rights Council are 2 different organizations. Human Rights Commission is led by Daniel Bakele. Human Rights Council is another organization. And the people arrested are from Human Rights Council, not Human Rights Organization. So, government only supports those reports of these human rights organizations which are supportive of government's position on different issues. When the organizations start covering issues which are sensitive and the coverage does not align with government's position, then these organizations, their officials, they come under crackdown. Thank you for watching.